JRPGs, or Japanese role-playing games, are amazing. Sure, they might seem intimidating at first, or out there, but they are well worth giving a try. Today, I've compiled a list going through some of the best JRPGs that this year has to offer. These kinds of games also release very consistently, so it's also a good genre to get into since there is always one coming out to look forward to. JRPGs come in many shapes and sizes, and we'll be looking at different ones available on many different consoles and PC, so there should be something for everyone here. One last thing before jumping in is that you can consider this video also a buying guide. We'll be listing what systems these games are available on alongside their price in the UK and if you should wait for a sale or not. And with that out of the way, let's jump right into the first game, starting with Visions of Mana, the most recent game here, releasing just late of last month back in August. The Mana series dates back all the way to 1991 and its newest release Visions of Mana is the perfect entry point into the series. Out of all the games I've played in the series, I would say it's the best one and has become somewhat underrated since its release. You play as Val, who's known as a soul guard, a knight in a sense, who has to guide their party on a pilgrimage to the Mana Tree. You'll be exploring many beautiful areas and towns on your way to your destination that have an incredible sense of scale, making the whole game feel very grand. If your preferred kinds of games hold the dial when it comes to text and exposition, then Visions of Mana is a great game to jump into. No long-winded cutscenes here, the journey is also short and sweet at around 40ish hours, which is typically short for this genre, with a lot of games going into the triple digits, which I wouldn't recommend to a newcomer wanting to get into these types of games. The combat in this game is also one of its stronger aspects, having a really customizable experience with lots of classes and weapons with different movesets for every party member alongside a costume change. Combat is colourful and fast-paced with it being an action RPG at its core, think like Kingdom Hearts or the more recent Final Fantasy games. Combat is seamless and never overstates its welcome, unlike some games in its genre. This is also probably the best looking game on this list. I still can't get over how good some of the environments look, it really pushes the hardware it's on. Visions of Mana is currently available on PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series X and Steam, with it being a full price MSRP release, but is very likely to be on sale in the future as a lot of Square Enix titles are wont to do. If you're looking for a fantasy themed simple yet charming one and done adventure, then Visions of Mana is the game for you. At number 4 we have a game from one of my favourite developers, Vanillaware, Unicorn Overlord, which dropped back in March of this year. The devs of this game have a really impressive background when it comes to making amazing titles that feel unique. On top of that, all their games have this timeless hand-drawn look to them. Even playing this game on the weakest of the current systems being the Switch, it all still looks incredible. Getting into the game itself, Unicorn Overlord is a strategy RPG, think like the Fire Emblem series. You play on a big map and control different units to take over areas as you overwhelm your enemy and claim back the land with careful consideration and strategy. The story has you play as Alm of the Liberation Front as you reclaim the lands of Featherrift that's been taken over by the Zenorian forces. There's more than meets the eye here as you encounter different characters and learn more of this game's past alongside the different races of this game's world. If you're new to strategy RPGs, Unicorn Overlord has a really good tutorial system and isn't as punishing as some of the other games in this genre, which typically has unfair ambushes like in the early Fire Emblem games. This game also has a really neat overworld that you can explore, which is very dense, having shops and side quests to be found. You can also progress at your leisure, choosing to ignore certain missions or prioritize specific ones. There are a ton of characters or units you can recruit to the Liberation Front, allowing for a lot of customization. I'm also a fan of their designs and personalities.
Should the people of this town be believed, Ridiel here has served as an informant for Zenoira. It would be ill-advised to let such a merchant of words walk among us.
Units can also be further customized with different weapons and placed together to create your own teams on the field. It may sound overwhelming at first, but the game is very forgiving with levels never overstaying their welcome, being reasonably short, making resets not as daunting as they may seem. Also, and I just thought I'd put this out there is no permanent death mechanic to deal with here like a lot of other strategy RPGs have. Did I already mention that this game looks amazing? Vanillaware is known for making very nice food in their games, and this is no exception. Unicorn Overlord is available on every major console out there, but not the PC. Personally, I'm going to recommend the Switch port of this game. It really feels at home on the handheld console, and there is no major differences with the performance over the other systems. Also, if you have an OLED model, the art style really pops on that display. The game has actually seen a decent price drop on the physical side of things, being around £30, which is well worth it. The game is around 40 to 50ish hours to get through, with there being plenty of side content and optional characters to add to your team. Well worth the price tag on this one, and even better if you can get it on a sale. For number 3, it's a remake title being Persona 3 Reload. Based on the original 2006 release with a full makeover and quality of life improvements, Persona 3 Reload is an amazing turn-based JRPG. The game is split up into 2 sections, the life sim element where you can hang out with your friends and other characters which improves your bonds with them. The other half of the game has you dungeon exploring at night, which has these combat sections. You take down these shadows who appear during the dark hour as you unravel their origin by navigating the many floors of Tartarus. The combat itself will have you focusing on enemy weaknesses as you land an all-out attack which has every party member getting on the action, resulting in a huge amount of damage. In typical Persona-like fashion, the combat is simple, straightforward, and flashy. The story is much more dense compared to the other games on this list and has many scenes where the characters are talking with one another. It's definitely more for those who want to kick back and watch a narrative unfold, which is one of the many strengths of JRPGs. They can afford to have longer stories than most genres given the more slower nature of these games, living each day out over the course of a year on a calendar system, which is what the Persona series is known for. Personally, I would actually put Persona 3 Reload above Persona 5 when it comes to recommending it to a newcomer. The game is much shorter than Persona 5, being around 60ish hours, making it feel less daunting to people that aren't used to the longer runtime, which is common in these sorts of games. Persona 3 Reload also has a completely redone soundtrack, which outside of 1 or 2 songs is incredible and would put them over the original game's music. The new version of the track changing season in particular had me tear up in my playthrough of the remake. It really is that good. This series is known for having some of the best music out there in gaming. I would definitely recommend playing this one with headphones. The cast of characters you'll get to know are also very likeable, with Aegis in particular being my personal favourite of the bunch. This game also recently got some paid DLC content with The Answer, an epilogue to the original game story that came out about a week ago, which gives even more content to an already stacked game. Persona 3 Reload is available on Xbox One and Series X and is also currently on Game Pass. It is also on PlayStation 4 and 5 along with Steam. The physical has already dipped a lot from its MSRP and can run as low as £30 in the UK, with it also going on sale digitally during most events. It's definitely worth a try if you're looking for an easy to play and story-rich JRPG experience. From one remake to another, we have a very unique game next. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, which released back in July. This one is a fan favourite for a good reason. Set in the ancient land of Rogueport, you are given a treasure map from Peach. This then takes you on a journey through many unusual locations as you collect the crystal stars which can open the infamous Thousand Year Door, which is located in the sewers beneath Rogueport. This really isn't your typical Mario game or JRPG for that fact, but Google counts it, and whilst the definition of what is a JRPG has been thrown back and forth, for simplicity's sake I'll be considering it any role-playing game that has been released in Japan. Tangent aside, Thousand Year Door is what most would consider a timed battle RPG. Combat is turn-based, but attacks have these short minigames tied to them, where to deal more damage you have to perform an input at the right time. You can also block attacks, and if you're feeling extra confident with your timing, you can go for a parry, which is really fun and satisfying to pull off. Thousand Year Door is a really good gateway JRPG. It has all the hallmarks of one of the best in the genre, with its fun and unique story, alongside races that only ever show up here, and party members that have become fan favourites. You also can't go wrong with a great Mario game in general, no matter what genre the plumber attempts. This whole adventure is fit into a charming papercraft aesthetic, and in the literal sense, you can fold yourself into a plane or boat to further navigate the world Metroidvania style, finding secrets that you couldn't reach before. Story-wise, there is a surprising amount of text, so unlike previous games on this list that had voice acting, you will have to read a good bit. If you don't mind that, then I would say it is well worth it to see interactions that you would never get in the mainline games. Lengthwise, I would say this game is around 30ish hours, give or take. There is a good amount of side content, including 2 new optional bosses in the Switch remake, alongside some side quests. The Switch version also improves in the quality of life department, having a much more convenient warp pipe system to navigate this game's world, easily making it the definitive way to play. Price-wise, this game is still fully priced, and the iffy nature of Nintendo's games going on sale makes it not very likely to see a price drop anytime soon. It's also of course a Switch only title, but comparing it to the absurdly high price of the GameCube original, I would say this is well worth it, especially if you like the IP and are looking for something very much its own. Having played it for yourself, you'll understand why fans have been pining for this remake all these years. Okay, so number 1 is actually quite a controversial game to recommend to newcomers, but I'll say my reasoning in just a moment. The Legend of Heroes Draws Through Daybreak, which released back in July. See, this game is technically the 11th entry in the long-running Trail series, but it is the beginning of a brand new arc set in the nation of Calvard. This is the perfect game to get into the series with and check out the older entries. You play as Van Arkwright of Arkwright Solutions, an agency that gets caught up in many shady dealings going on that the police won't handle, but Van will for the right price and if he deems necessary. Throughout your dealings, you'll get caught up in this grand plot involving strange phenomenons happening across the nation as you constantly bump into this group known as Almata, who is responsible for a lot of what's been happening. The world of Daybreak looks amazing. The Trail series is known for having completely realised locations and lore so dense that you can read the actual newspapers and books that exist within the game's world. With its most recent release, the game is now seamless, allowing you to visit inside areas without loading zones. Combat wise, Draws Through Daybreak is almost like a combination of the genres we've covered so far, incorporating both an action RPG, having combos and dodge moves, but at any moment with wild encounters you can shift the action into a more in-depth turn-based RPG. For the turn-based section, your aim is to build meter to activate your S-Craft, enemy wiping moves that deal a ton of damage. Not too long ago, I jumped down the Trails rabbit hole playing all the mainline titles. If you think One Piece is long, Trails easily dwarfs that series in runtime alone, never mind its side content and optional boss fights. The reason I would put this game at number 1 over the others is sure, it is part of a long narrative and ties into certain plot points established in previous games, but it really does stand on its own and can be a great entry point for those looking into getting into this incredible series. There is also a demo available for this game, allowing you to transfer over your progress to the full game if you would like to see if this is for you. The Trail series has an extremely dedicated fanbase. Sure, the games aren't as popular as Final Fantasy or Persona, but trust me, its quality in many ways far surpasses those titles for those willing to take the plunge. Lengthwise, Draws Through Daybreak is the longest game on this list, easily running you past 100 hours for the main game alone, which I can understand isn't for everyone, but if you're looking for a title to get into and a content-rich experience, then this game is for you. Draws Through Daybreak is available on PlayStation 4, 5, Nintendo Switch, and Steam. The game is still full price physically, but digitally the series goes on sale pretty often, so it might be a good idea to hold off until then. Personally, I would recommend it since the amount of time you can get out of this title alone is way more than most games. I've covered a decent bit of Trails content on this channel already, and I plan to continue that from time to time, so if that interests you in any way, please feel free to subscribe for more of that. And that concludes my 5 JRPGs for newcomers video. Hopefully there's something that interests you here. This genre really has a lot to offer, and like I said earlier, can be a good way of finding tons of games since so many release every month. Also, any feedback on this video will be greatly appreciated. And I just thought I'd say, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is amazing, but isn't really something you can recommend to newcomers since it's the second part in the remake series. It's definitely a masterpiece for sure, but just goes beyond the scope of this video. Have you played any great JRPGs that you would recommend from this year? Let me know if I've missed any in the comments section. Thanks for watching and have a nice rest of your day.